Matthew Cruz is an energy expert at Forest Energy. He joins us now. Matthew, good afternoon to you. From what the Minister says, to push the energy availability factor above 70% for Eskom, I mean, that's a big improvement. Is it almost higher than we expected, or are we kind of on track?
Yes, no, this is definitely higher than expected, even from myself and my projections that I had for how things are going to go leading up to the elections. It is commendable to see how Eskom has been able to pull it all together just leading up to now the 29th of May. And just to give my input in terms of how this was possible, there seems to be a lot of coordination regarding the planned outages and bringing them back off of planned outages just in time for us going into winter to have this nice energy availability factor that we see at the moment. There's also been effort from the outages that are unplanned and coordination that's been done in order to make sure that those units are brought back online. And something to note about that is that there is, and this is from my experience in Eskom that I'm drawing on, there is a way to do an interim solution. When we talk about interim solutions and we talk about long-term solutions, there's methods to do interim solutions in order to bring a unit back online, to keep it online for between 3 to 6 months. So I strongly suspect that this is what has been going on. It's difficult to exactly know what's happened inside the power station, but I strongly suspect that there's been a coordinated effort in order to implement interim solutions in order to bring back these units before they were meant to be brought back. As we've seen, they came back 2 to 3 months before they were meant to come back. And it remains to be seen following the elections what actually does happen with load shedding, because I actually see it coming back in June and July in winter time.
Okay, so you're on the cynical side of the argument, and Matthew, I don't blame you, we live in a cynical age. You believe that load shedding will come back literally the 30th of May?
So yeah, I've heard the jokes of 9 p.m. 29th of May, expect stage 6 again. So no, I don't think it's going to be that drastic. I do think that we are not going to be firing diesel as we have been. So we heard the counter argument from Eskom saying that no, we're not firing diesel. We actually fired 40% less diesel than we were the year before, sorry, 60% less diesel. We're only firing 40% of the diesel that we were in 2023, and it's not a result of firing diesel. And my counter to that, and it is right from the cynical perspective, is why were we firing diesel in April in order to avoid going into stage 1 or stage 2 load shedding, just to remain at stage 0? When last year we were firing it actually just to keep the grid from failing and going above stage 6 into stage 8 into uncharted territory. So there was a real need previously last year to fire the diesel then, and now there was not really a need to fire the diesel just to stay away from going into stage 2 or stage 1. Previously we were doing that 6 months ago. We didn't mind staying in stage 3 all day for many weeks at a time. So I see that there's much coordinated efforts and focus on making it look like things are really good at the moment, and we're still firing then as a result. It's actually not 40% of our diesel that we were last year, it's actually 47% when you look at the actual data. We're still firing half the amount of diesel that we were last year, and when I ask ourselves why are we doing that just to stay out of stage 0 when it costs 10 times as much for the production of electricity from diesel rather than coal. So I do see that happening. We're not going to fire more diesel after elections. There's not going to be political will in order to make it look like things are okay. And with the rise in demand that takes place during the winter months, I do see load shedding coming back, yes. But not specific on the 30th, but over June and July.
Okay, I mean, there are lots of things going on here. The other theory, or the other explanation, of course, is that the private sector, by which I mean both businesses and homeowners, had invested a huge amount in their own generation. A lot of it comes from solar power, of course, on people's roofs. Drive past a petrol station in an urban area, you'll probably see a few solar panels there. That's 5,000 megawatts, possibly more now. I mean, 5 stages of load shedding. Is that not going to keep load shedding from the door through June and July?
So yes, that's a very, very good point, and I'm very happy from my side to have been involved in that drive of the country getting solar energy. As I've been a main commentator and advocate for businesses and households taking their energy needs into their own hands. So it's been really great to see that 5,500 megawatts estimated from Eskom has been installed, and that's primarily over the last year and a half, and that's been mitigating against 5.5 stages of load shedding during the middle of the day. So yes, I do see that has reduced things. There's also an aspect of businesses have gone out of business as a result of the energy crisis. Some businesses aren't able to get solar. They didn't realize that there's solar financing available or power purchase agreements where you don't put any money down, but you're able to save up to 40% of the electricity bill. As my company, Forest Energy, is able to supply, businesses have gone out of business. And as a result, we've seen an overall reduction in demand of 7.5% overall relative to last year for the same season. So there's been a reduction in demand both from solar, but also businesses going out of industry. And one thing to note is that in wintertime, there is less sun available. There's more cloud cover, and there's less generation that's coming from those solar panels. Also, those only count for the middle of the day when businesses are really operational. So it really helps businesses to have all the solar in the country, but the homes, the mornings and the evenings, and also businesses that are operational when there's no sun shining, it doesn't help them that all of the solar has been installed. They would effectively need a battery to supplement a solar installation, or if they don't have any solar or any kind of ability to get solar because of a sticky landlord, for instance, then they just have to hope that things continue as they are in the country and the private sector continues to invest in solar as it is, so they can benefit from the what do you call it, shared investment into solar power that's helping the whole country.
Matthew, I expect, in a way, electricity has become a bit of a political issue, and it has a sort of own internal politics, as you will know. And one of the things that's likely to happen in the next little while is someone is going to stick their hand up and is going to say, I think this period of management at Eskom is responsible for the situation we're in now, the improved situation, I mean. Some people are going to say it's the management we have now, the relatively new CEO, and Dan Marakane, and obviously he's part of a big team. Some people are going to say it was the CEO before him, under de Ruyter. Some people say no, it was what happened before him. Is it really possible to even have that debate, or in your view, is it just clever coordination at the moment?
So I would say, I would attack it from a little bit of a different angle. I would say what went wrong is definitely the time before Andre came along was what went wrong when we had a previous president at the helm. And there's many things I can point to in the public sphere that will indicate what went wrong. But one of them can just be the way that Eskom's debt went from 80 billion to 500 billion during his tenure, which ended up declining in his ability to generate power during that time. So that's just one example of how money just kind of was appropriated. Zondo Commission has kind of highlighted accused number one that is not yet being really serving any time in jail as a result of being accused. So I would say what went wrong is that we had an incumbent that was focused on extracting money from the state for personal gain, as Pravin Gordhan put it. And then what went right is, yes, Andre came in, he did bring in excellence with his ability to provide some structure and some approach of focusing on maintenance. That was carried over, and I wouldn't say that it was because of Andre that we had load shedding. I would say it's because of things that were done before Andre came along. He did all he can to fix it, but he was right when he said that he inherited a very sick patient, the patient that was in critical condition. I was in Eskom during that time, and I agree that was the prognosis. It had gotten to a place where the patients of Eskom was almost dying on ICU. So he did ICU treatment, stopped the bleeding. There was even a term that was used in the 9-point turnaround plan. We need to stop the bleeding, focus on maintenance, and then focus on long-term solutions. So I would say that it's combined effort of Andre, plus also the effort that's been going in from the government side. So I do give credit where it's due. It is commendable to see that there's been great coordination. And it's interesting how when there's necessity and there's strong political will, then all of a sudden things can actually happen in South Africa, and it can get to a 70% energy availability factor. I would say that there's an aspect of it being strong coordination. I shudder to think, though, following the elections, should that will fall away for making it seem like things are okay, what will happen in the country? So it does remain to be seen what takes place from June onwards.
Matthew Cruz, very cynical, I notice. Thank you very much indeed. Matthew Cruz is an energy expert at Forest Energy. To appreciate the time.